All right, Gorilla Gang, welcome to the channel. So we're trying out a new camera, a new microphone, and a different location. So maybe this will be a decent video. I have no idea. We have a lot of experience camping and being cold and suffering and yada yada yada. Specifically in the Pacific Northwest. To endure said cold and said suck and said oof, wool. Beaver, would you like to go into a little bit about your experience so far with wool?
Well, first wool blanket I ever owned was actually the U.S. Army blanket.
Same.
Actually, you know what? The first wool blanket I ever had, I bought from you.
Oh.
Believe it or not. I've always had, wool socks, wool gloves, a variety of wool clothing, and I've always understood the value in it, but first wool blanket I ever got was this one here, U.S. Army, which is a lighter material than some of the ones we'll be talking about today. Pretty comparable to the Greek wool.
Yeah, so far, not to cut you off at all, but so far we've found that the U.S. Army issue wools and the Greek issue wools are almost exactly the same beyond color. So the Army issue, if you couldn't see with your eyes, is green. And then if you also can't see with your eyes, this one's blue. So far, that's about the only difference that we've found. They're about the exact same weight, same material. When they fold up, they're about the same size. Someone cloned someone, I don't know, but these will soon be back on the website, or correction, these will be on the website. Hopefully I can get those back on the website. So when we're talking about the classifications of wool, so this is usually about anywhere between 50 to 80% wool, and then everything else is going to be your polyester fillers, your nylon, all that kind of...
the Amazon blankets.
Amazon blankets, where they're getting just enough wool in there to say that it's wool, but it's not.
But is it really?
Yeah, is it? So these are going to be your decent blankets for the summer months. So in summer it still gets cold, you still get wet, especially in these types of environments. And if it gets down to 50 degrees or so and you get wind chill, you can still die from hypothermia. Therefore, wool, this is a lighter wool, 3 to 5 pounds or so for these ones, and they're a lot easier to pack down as opposed to your heavier wools. So your heavier wools are going to be your German wools and then your Swiss wools. Now the Swiss wool is kind of an in-between of these two. The Swiss wool, you're looking at somewhere about 6-7 pounds. And then these bad boys, you're looking somewhere about 7 to 8 pounds. So the German wools are going to be your thickest. They're going to be your fuzziest. Not only that, going along with, all wool is not created equal. You have different types of wool that are coming from different types of sheep. Now, wool is one of the oldest materials known to man in frame of keeping you warm.
No matter conditions, specifically where it excels is once you are already wet and the wool is wet, it still retains body heat after it's wet. That is what makes it so incredibly valuable, specifically for in the field.
Well, so not only that, but wool to a certain point can also, it can mask your presence from thermal signature. We've already tested this as well. An emergency blanket will work, but a thermal is going to not be able to see through wool as easily just because of how thick it is. Not only that, the German wools, and this is one that I've become very fond of, because
you and me both.
Because we've now slept in some pretty shitty environments. We've slept through some pretty lame weather, and the wool keeps it just plain and simple, it keeps you warm. And there's not much else you have to say to that. Now, the German wool, so like all of these, you're gonna have different price brackets with how good it is. Now, the Amazon wools, you can go out and buy those for, $20–30. And you know, they might work in a pinch. If you're not planning on going out in the cold, if you're not planning on going out in austere environments, then yeah, you know, it's still a blanket at the end of the day. But if you want something
or even if you're going out for maybe a shorter period of time, it
Yep.
it might fill the role. But like we were talking about, wool is not all created equal. There's very much different grades. Like the German wools, for instance, apparently we had to do some research into this. They have some special sheep over there that they breed for the purpose of having an extremely soft, not scratchy wool. And the Swiss isn't as scratchy as the U.S. Army. But yeah, there's different grades.
Well, that, and you can get 2 guys under this one. I don't think
you could splice in that video clip of me and radio underneath of one.
German wolves, they can cover 2 faggots. I'm a warm faggot.
So I only have a couple of the Greek wools, and they're probably only gonna be like $30. So I bet these will fly. But
and the fact that they're blue, that's okay. We're gonna dabble into talking. We've got a big ass sale coming up. If you're looking for a wool blanket for your woman to just be comfy, because you know it's blue, it's not a decent color for indoors and keeping your woman happy, but OD green obviously is going to be the superior choice for field use, being the U.S. Army and the German wool blankets. But I think that blue one, you could probably convince your wife to cuddle up next to the stove with that one.
Absolutely. Oh, not only that, but these Romanian M90 parkas are also wool lined. Wool is fantastic. I'm looking at buying just more and more of it, especially when it comes to cold weather coats, liners. I wouldn't mind getting some wool pants. I don't know. I feel like personally I'd probably wind up overheating though.
If you're sitting still in an OP or something for an extended period of time, wool pants are awesome. But so, moving, you're gonna get toasty.
So that's another thing. Layering. A lot of people don't understand layering. A lot of people, when they hear layering, it's kind of like I have one cold weather layer. Cool, I take that off and I'm good. No, actually. So you want to have different layers of kit, so to speak. So like personally, I have the USMC frog waffle top underneath this, and then I have this wool liner under the M90 parka. So if I was really starting to heat up, what I could do is just take off the waffle top really fast and then run just the coat. If I'm still getting too hot, then I could take out the wool liner and just run the outside. This is specifically if you are moving or if you are working. Let's say you're in an OP, you're digging a hole, maybe shit hits the fan, you're at home, you're outside, you're just improving your security, right? Maybe you're boarding up windows, maybe you're digging fighting positions, maybe you're just trying to improve the fence around your property. If it's colder months, you're going to get warm really fast. So when you go outside, you want to have different layers of cold weathering. Oh, the next thing we're going to talk about is, and I should have brought up some more stuff, but oh well. So when you are sleeping, I know a lot of people will complain that the wool blankets, you know, they're scratchy and they're really terrible up against the skin. Why is the wool up against your skin, you silly?
This is why you have layers underneath.
Once again, layering layering of kit. So when you're sleeping, for me, usually I have the waffle top and bottom. I don't have a whole lot of sizes of them left. If you wear some other sort of long johns, then that's fine. Of underlayering, waffle top and bottom or whatever, and then you're gonna have your woobie or your poncho liner. That's going to be your next layer, at least for me.
Yep, same.
And then the layer after that is then going to be your wool. After that is going to be your bivy sack or your waterproof sleep sack. So you're gonna have all of that inside of your bivy cover if you're bushwhacking it. And then you'd have a poncho over top of it.
All right, boiling water was set there. My meal is ready to rock and roll. Doing the chicken Alfredo pasta. Also got my tapatio somewhere in the rucking side there. All right, fireball, shotgun, shovel, fucking Bliss kit from Cedar Sewing Company. One-man tent from U.S. Army prototype rifle. Whoopee. Fucking U.S. Army wool blanket. Fucking parka. M90. More wool socks. German wool blanket. And then fucking frog waffle top and bottom. Buy my shit. And bread and fire. More fireball. Beaver.
Alright.
Of that. Now that's if you're planning to, you know, sleep on the ground in a hole. Now if you're trying to tent camp, if you're trying to be a little bit more comfy wumpy, or if you just don't like that system, then you can go with a U.S. Army 3-piece sleep system, which is, once again, layers of sleeping bags. You have 2 sleeping bags and then your bivy cover. But there's a million different methods to the madness. Try some things out. I personally like doing what I just said of the different layers with the wool blanket or the sleeping bag, you know, tier, or you could go for more of a tent camp. Biggest thing is that if you're going to be outside, if you're going to be in the cold, if you're going to be in the wet, have something to keep you dry. Once that fails, have something to keep you warm. Because if you've ever been inside a rainforest, dry only stays for so long. Dry is only a thing for so long. At a certain point, you're going to get wet. And that's just...
something you get to deal with.
That's just reality.
And really, that's where the wool comes in clutch. Because even if it's wet, you're retaining your body heat the whole time. Even inside of like a bivy, like a lot of people will complain about the M81 U.S. Army bivvies. They don't have any breathability, so your breath will condensate inside your bivvy with you. And then you wake up and, you know, go to turn sideways. It's like, oh, just smeared condensation all over your face, and now you're wet and you got a cold spot. Well, even if your wool is completely wet, it's still going to retain your body heat. And it matters. It matters so hugely. The last video we talked about with me freezing on the side of a mountain. Because I was soaking wet. If I'd have had a wool, I could have retained some of my body heat instead of having to resort to the emergency blankets. Which, by the way, carry emergency blankets.
We sell those. So not only that, when it comes to a bivy sack, you know, the bivy's not the only thing that you want to have. You want to have a poncho or a tarp over top of that. The bivy's basically just to keep you secured and dry. It's a second layer of protection. It should not be your only layer of protection. Not only that, but if you have a poncho over the top of you, realize that a poncho has a hole in it. So if you center the poncho over you, if you do not tie off that poncho correctly, the top of it, the hood, what's going to happen is it's going to start to dip in. And then all that water is going to pool, and then that's going to drop over you in the middle of the night. And hopefully it's going to be comedic as fuck.
All right, so we got a fire going.
It's raining.
Where's actually the drip?
It's right here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it'd be like that. It's gonna be a night.
Yep. Especially when you wake up in the morning because you had it positioned just right. Now it looks like you pissed yourself.
Yep. I've woken up in many a puddle, and that is where the bivy sack really reigns supreme, because of the bivy and the wool, because the bivy is going to keep you, you know, dry-ish from the top, and then the wool, even if you are wet, once again, you're warm. So yes, you guys can, you know, TLDR. Yes, you guys can use cheaper and inferior wools. There's nothing wrong with that. The biggest thing is that you need to understand that it's a trade-off. The less money that you spend on a wool blanket, the more likely the less quality you're going to get. Not only that, but the...
That's not to say you can't find screaming deals. Because I have bought U.S. Army wools on, you know, buy-sell trade pages, used market. You can find them for deals.
Yeah, no, and when I say spend the money, I'm saying that there's a difference between finding a deal and it being cheap, and finding cheap and it's shit. You know, quality is quality, cheap is cheap, shit is shit. And there's, you know, you kind of have to be able to decipher that. Just like the Canadian wools, you know, those are 100% wool, but they're very, very thin. So that is, for the most part, why they're so cheap, is because they're so thin. So yes, it is 100% wool. It's going to retain heat better than, you know, something comparable weight and thickness, but if that's less wool percentage, I mean. But if you're not getting something that is thick and 100% wool, then it's just not going to retain heat as well. Not only that, but trying to get something that's softer, which to me, the softness is nice, but it's, you know, it's not the biggest deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, creature comfort. That's really about all it is.
Yum. All right, that is about everything that I have to bitch about right now. Hopefully this video recorded well. Hopefully the audio's not shit. And yeah, hopefully you guys actually see this by Thanksgiving. And if you do see this today, happy Thanksgiving.
And by the way, for Thanksgiving, we're also going to be doing a big, huge sale on the website.
Oh, right. Black Friday sales are going to be nuclear tonight at midnight through midnight of Monday going into Tuesday. So gonna have a lot of sales. If you guys want wools, I'm gonna be dropping them for ridiculous prices. I'm thinking I'm gonna do like 50% off as of right now, but we'll see. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Sorry this isn't the most, you know, entertaining video to watch. Maybe I'll put some B-roll over it. Yeah, ATS, go fuck yourself, and be free everything else.
Stay warm. Get yourself a wool blanket.
Stay warm, wool blankets. Okay, and break. Hopefully that wasn't shit. Where's the off button on this motherfucker? There it is. Boop.